Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Plate. As always, I'm your host, Nick Sakalis, coming to you live from the WGBB studios here in Merrick, New York. And I don't know about everybody, but I'm really in a good mood. Do you know why I'm in a good mood? Because we haven't had rain in 3 days. You're laughing about that. I can't say what kind of killer this past week was. Obviously, everybody had to go through the whole process of the rain and everything. It affects everybody in different ways. But in the world of real estate, rain is a killer, an absolute killer. I can't even tell you. It like cuts the legs right from under us. You can't do proper photography if you have photo shoots ready to do. If you got waterfront homes or homes by the water and that kind of thing, it affects the way the showings happen. If you got regular houses and it just makes the whole process so much more difficult. You got to make sure that people don't track water into their houses, don't damage the house with their feet, ask people to take shoes off, ask people to put footies on, all kinds of different stuff. So I'm so happy we don't have any rain, and I'm hoping not to have much rain, at least for the next few days. It's enough. I'm so happy. Today was a beautiful day. Yesterday was a beautiful day. Great open house weekend. Just please, no more rain for a while. Rain is good, but in little bits and pieces, not every day. And that being said, I just wanted to, before I really get into the topic of the show today, I just wanted to go over something that I found really annoying and weird, and it's like a scam, and it's something that I don't know if a lot of people are really wary of this, and this is more of a notice to not only real estate agents and professionals, to sellers and buyers as well. So I get this letter in today from the American Institute from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Don't mind the scribbling that I have on the thing. I always write notes on everything I have in front of me. If you look at my office, you see writing everywhere. I'm one of these people that has to write things down and then process them, And I open up this letter, and it comes from the American Institute of Real Estate Professionals. Okay? I don't know what this is all about. And it reads as follows. Dear Mr. Sakalis, congratulations. We are pleased to announce that you have been selected to membership as one of the 10 best real estate agents for New York. Okay, that's interesting. I've gotten awards before. I've gotten nominated for things in the past. But it seems a little odd out of nowhere that this came in without any notice or not knowing where it comes from. So I'm reading a little further along. The American Institute of Real Estate Professionals is a impartial third-party real estate agent rating service and invitation-only organization recognizing excellence of real estate professionals. You may have the exclusive list of the 10 best real estate agents for New York for client satisfaction. This is a significant achievement as each real estate agent must be formally nominated by the Institute, but it doesn't tell me who nominated me, has attained the highest degree of professional achievement in his or her field. I'm good, but I don't know if I should get this kind of thing. And has an impeccable client satisfaction rating. Okay, I got a pretty decent ratings on stuff like that. So I'm reading. Then it's saying to join and to be listed on the 10 best real estate agents for client satisfaction in New York, must complete the enclosed membership registration form and return by July 31st. And then it goes on telling you, allow you to proudly display top 10, blah, 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 list profile, contact information, press release for 2 newspapers and 2 television stations, organic backlink to your website, blah, 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 where are they going to put you in all this stuff, okay? So I'm looking at the I'm looking at the client satisfaction form that came with it, and I'm looking at this, and the first thing that hits my eye: payment method. Visa, MasterCard, or American Express. Okay, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, what kind of award do you have to actually pay for to get? It says fill out the information, register online, mail check to American Institute, name as you like to appear on the gray plaque, character limitation, and membership registration of $295. Okay, so you get a plaque that says 10 best agents in New York, and you got paid $295. And you know what this tells me? You're basically, by falling into this thing, you're paying for a false recognition and false award that's available out there. Okay, so I'm not going to toot my horn and say the type of awards I hit, but I've gotten very legitimate awards and highly recognized awards in the past. Okay, I've never been asked to pay to receive this award. And I've gotten from LIBOR, I've gotten from Rebney, I've gotten from Realtors, I've gotten all these different awards from different places. And I've never been asked to pay to receive an award. Worst case scenario, they tell you to come to the award ceremony and pay for a seat. Okay, that's not a big deal. Usually it's 50, 100 bucks, whatever the case is. To pay for a seat, you get dinner, and you're at the award ceremony. But that's for the actual facility where it's being run out of, for the food, for the entertainment that they have. Understandable that you can't afford to be able to pay these things without the member recognition, member help. But when you get something like this, it's really annoying, to be quite honest with you. And it is such a scam, and they sit there and they're like vultures. They just find people that are naive or stupid, or no, right? I said they're stupid, but they're naive or so needy to get some kind of recognition that they're willing to pay to get this done. And you know, if it was something that was really worthwhile and really a noteworthy type of association, they wouldn't be asking collections from people and that kind of thing. It just wouldn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. You know, I also did a little research on this place. This place was created in 2014, and you know, part of the mission statement, the statement was, American Institute was created in 2014 with the innovative idea of our organization could save time, energy, and effort of those who are looking for qualified real estate agents in their area, and no cost to the consumer. So basically, they're going the same route that some of the other platforms we've talked about in the past and other areas do as well. Like, for instance, if you become a premium agent on Zillow, it doesn't mean that you're a premium agent. It doesn't mean you're the best of the best. It doesn't mean that you're the most qualified person. It means you're willing to pay the most amount for that zip code that you're placed as a premium agent. That's what it is. And this is not far behind. So they're asking people to pay $295 so they can get a stupid little plaque that says 10 best real estate agent of New York. And they could plaster it all over their social media, put it on their email logos, put it on their wherever they want to put it, and brag and tell everybody that they're one of the top 10 best agents in New York. And I'll tell you something. If somebody legitimate believes that this is going to help them, it might help them with some people. The completely naive people, people that are completely ignorant to the world, hobbits that are in their caves and don't know about anything, never read a paper, never watch the news, never watch TV or anything like that. But you know, it's one of those things that you have to be pretty foolish. Okay, all right. I don't like to toot my own horn, and you know, I've done enough in my life to say that I've been pretty okay as far as an agent. You know, I'm not gonna shy away. I'm not gonna be modest about it, but I'm also not foolish, and I'm not gonna brag about things that are absolutely out of this world. You know, when you talk about top 10 agents in the entire state of New York, all you have to do is look at a handful of them that just did a $100 million condo in the city, or sold a $250 million building, or sold, you know, as much as I would love to say that I have done that, I haven't gone to that level yet. I strive to get there at one point, and I aim to be at there, and I believe I will get there to one point where I'm selling those kind of properties. But I haven't. No, I've sold plenty of multi-million-dollar properties, 5, 10 million, 2, 3 million. I've sold plenty of those, but I haven't gotten to that level yet. In order to be a top 10 agent in New York, at least for any given year, you have to have done 1 or 2 of those major monster sales. And you know, for them to turn around and send these to me, it makes me believe that they're basically looking at the news and everything all around the board, and telling and kind of looking at it from a point of view that, okay, this person does a lot of business in this area. He's one of the top agents in that area, and that may be true. I have no issue saying that I'm one of the top agents in my areas, but to say all of New York, that's kind of crazy. That's a crazy thing to say. Again, I'm not going to shy away from what I could possibly do, what I'm capable of, and what I've done, and what I'm doing right now in my current career, and I'm doing really well. But I'm not to that level yet. I'm not going to shy away from that. I'll get there one day. I'm pretty confident in that. But you know, it really annoys me that they're doing this, and I'm sure they've done it. They send it to a lot of these middle of the pack or top regional agents, and some of them are biting, or naive enough to bite. Some of them are greedy or foolish enough to believe that by doing this, it's going to increase their business and increase their visibility. And if you're looking for the completely ignorant and naive audience and kind of harp on that, you might be able to pull it off with some people. But the general masses are going to see right through that. You know, how do they come up with these assumptions? You know, how do they know what the volume of business any individual agent does? Unless it's publicly put out there, a lot of the stuff we do is behind the scenes. Now, half the stuff I sell that's on the market, it's exclusive. It's not seen through the public third-party sites. You know, and I can't, a lot of times I can't take recognition out of it for reasons of holding identities and people's business on a quieter level. They can't. They don't want to get that. They don't want to be seen. So it's a weird thing. Buyer beware. And here's the other thing. That's why I said it's a double type of warning. If you're from the seller end or if you're the buyer end, and somebody's approaching you with this kind of thing and saying, "Look, I am top agent in all of New York," well, start questioning to yourself and start thinking, how could that be possible? Why don't you show me some of the business you actually did, if that's really the case? But then again, somebody that's willing to run around with a false certificate or false plaque like this, they might be turning around and falsifying their records as far as what they've done in the past too. So again, buyer beware, and just be careful of who you're dealing with. I can't stand these gimmicks, these scams, and these low life vultures that are trying just to profit off of like people just trying to make a name for themselves. You know, there's a real great way of how to make a name of yourself in this business. Work hard, don't give up, and do more than everybody else around you. Very simple formula. Very simple formula. You know, one of the things that keep me going and keep helping me elevate my business and my plan, I always take a good look at everybody that's around me, and I say to myself, they're onto something. They're doing good with that. They're doing something really good there. And I take bits and pieces from everything that my peers do around me. And I've said this before. This business is not a business of original ideas. It's a business of taking ideas that exist, incorporating them into your own business model, and trying to put your own spin and making them your own in a certain way that's unique to yourself. So one of the things I do is I always look around to my peers, what are they doing? And I always try to step it up. Like past year or two, I've really been on, actually about 2 years, 3 years, I've been really on the video kick. And I really believe that video is not only a crucial part of marketing a property right now, it's also a vehicle that you can't get past anymore. Like you can't get around not using it, especially if you're doing higher end properties, larger properties. You need it. You absolutely need it. This is a very media driven type of environment we live in right now, and people want to do the eyeball test. They want to see, and if they don't get attracted and get pulled in either by photos or the video directly, they're not even going to give the place a shot to walk into. So I've been really into that video kick, and I've been constantly trying to step up my game with that. I always look at what my peers have been doing. I say, all right, that works. That's pretty good. I think I could do that better. I could tweak this in a different way. I got a different angle than what everybody else is taking. And I'm also always trying to evolve it and trying to make it a little bit better. And that's what everybody should look to do. Always step up their game. And it's not even a question of trying to keep up with your competition. It's trying to stay ahead of your competition. That's the thing. You really, really need to understand that, because this business itself is a very ruthless business. It's very cutthroat. You know, that sweet old lady that's 80 years old that sells houses and brings you cookies and says how sweet your grandkids are might be the vulture that takes the other agent's eyes out that's right next to her. And that's not something that, you know, I'm exaggerating. People are really ruthless, and they come in all different packages. And, you know, a lot of people look at me that I'm a little bit rougher on the edges, and I look a little bit more, I don't know, a little different from a lot of what your typical agents look like. And then when they get to meet me and understand, to get a little behind my thought process, they understand that I'm a different person. Appearances are very deceiving, you know, but it's a ruthless business. You need to stay on top of your competition. Do what you can, and don't go for gimmicks, and don't go for these fake awards and stuff like that. Do it the right way. You're always going to feel better about yourself. And you know what? Every time you do get a real achievement, and I promise you, if you work hard, you will get awards and you will get achievements. Not that I personally think they're anything. It's nice. It's nice to get recognized for things here and there. But at the end of the day, what does that really mean? Is it going to put any more money in your pocket? Not really. You got to keep doing what you're doing and to keep going. Again, like I said, it's nice to have that feel. What the hell is that? Sorry about that. I got a little bit distracted. Some kind of alien noise was coming from the other room. But that's basically the bottom line. I'm going to also put another alert out there, because this has been happening a lot, and it happened a couple times on my listings recently, and I'm going to put a warning out there to a lot of the homeowners. If you see somebody randomly come in and knock on your door, they don't have an appointment that you've been told of by your agent, or you haven't gone, like some sellers that are a little more tech savvy and like are more comfortable with that want to get text alerts every time there's a showing, or they want to be put on the showing desk system, so every time we set up an appointment, they'll get an email and a text to basically alerting them that we have a showing for 1:30 on Wednesday or whatever the case is, and they'll be alerted of that. So the other times they just want the phone call telling them, and other times they don't want to know. Maybe the house is vacant. But either way, homeowners should never allow access to somebody that's random, that's knocking on their door, no matter what they look like. We just talk about appearances, because appearances can be deceptive. Should never allow anybody to walk in through their door without a confirmed appointment. And why? This is a crazy world. It is insane, the amount of bad things people do and the amount of bad people out there. I'm not saying that every single case is like that, but if somebody comes in randomly, knocks on your door and says, I have an appointment, and they don't have an appointment, and they say, can I come in anyway? Do not have them call up their agent, your agent, and say that you want to have an appointment, and set it up through them. And then immediately call up your agent and tell them what just happened, so the agent could be alerted about that and know what the story was. Now, if somebody comes in and says, oh, I got an appointment through my agent, let's say it's a buyer's agent that made the appointment, always take down the name. It could be a fictitious person. It could be somebody else. But you know what? If you take down the name, as your listing agent, as your representative, I could call up and say, what was the story with that? And then, you know what? A lot of times I find out that the agent didn't have any idea about that happening. It's a creepy world of creepy people that could do really bad things. So just be very careful. Don't let your guard down just because it's a nice, clean-cut young woman that's coming in there that's not very intimidating to you, and you let them in. Don't do it. If it's an old little man that looks harmless, don't do it. If it's a little boy, it doesn't matter what package they're coming in. You don't know who's hiding around the corner or who's looking behind the shrubs. You don't know what's happening. So be very careful. And this happened a couple of times over the past week. And thank God, my home sellers had the right sense to not let them in and call me up immediately, and I had to take care of. The first situation was a person that was really obnoxious. He was an agent, and was really obnoxious, and he took it upon himself to want to go to show the house to his people without making an appointment, and try to throw it on. He tried to make an appointment, but it was never confirmed. Don't listen to any of that stuff. It's something that you have to be very wary of, and again, it also comes down to the cutthroat kind of situation. A lot of times you have, I feel like everything goes in full circle. I really do, because a lot of these things that are existing and happening right now, and it's because it's a really competitive market. There's a lot of agents out there. There's only a set amount of inventory that they can be spread around through them. And everybody's trying to undercut the other by trying to do business here and there. And I feel like it's almost like we've gone a full circle around from where I first started. And this was how it was a long time ago, where, even though you had a listing, somebody else from another brokerage might go knock on the door and say, I'll get you a better deal. Drop this agent and I'll and I'll bring my buyers in, and this and that, and it would happen all the time. And you know what? I see it happening more and more late, and it's funny. It really is funny how things really come around, and we see things make go the cycle. It's just what it is, you know? And it's only going to get worse. I promise you this. Having like 20,000 plus agents in New York is not going to make it any easier. And that's why I always say you need to make the requirements and the restrictions of getting a license in the state a lot more difficult, because then you weed out the best of the best from the worst of the worst, and then some of the middle ground people stay in play. And you know that's what you really want. You want to have the best people representing the industry. All right, and that being said, I just want to go back to something that we talked about a little bit last week, as far as the comparison of work on construction and reconstruction and flips and that kind of stuff. And I've spoken to a few contractors and a few developers, builders in the areas that I've worked with, and I think I'd like to have somebody come and give their point of view on the show as far as that's concerned. And I definitely will at one point. I have one person that's a great person to speak to. The only thing is we're having very difficult times setting him up because of his extremely pressed weekly schedule, and it makes it very tough for him to be able to make it on a Monday between 6 and 7. So I'm actually thinking of just doing a separate podcast with him, or a pre-recorded type of situation, and then I'll set the link to the video for everybody to be able to just get a point of view of a builder or a developer, or somebody that does this from the ground up, so they kind of know how the process works from beginning to end. I think that's really important for people, how the materials are picked out, what are the grades of materials, that kind of stuff. I think it's super important for people to really and truly understand this, because it has been something that people have been getting burned with a lot. There's so much development going out there, and it's not all created equal. It really is not. And the quality of the work really shows up. And, price doesn't necessarily reflect the quality of work, because you have a lot of the people with the really choppy and poor quality materials and work that they've done in places, and they're matching the same prices or asking prices on the places that have the quality work. And at the end of the day, a lot of times they'll undercut and sell for less, but they'll have a higher asking price. But a lot of times they're getting a lot more than what those places are worth, just because they're lining themselves up against the better quality builds. And if you have a better quality build, the materials and the cost of the whole process is so much greater than what the cheap process is, that it's very difficult for the person with the high quality work to be able to reduce the price to be more competitive with the choppy work. So it's one of these things that you get what you pay for in a lot of ways, but sometimes people are really paying more for poor quality work just because it's cheaper, a little cheaper than what what should be the standard. It's I don't know, it's very upsetting. I'm actually talking to a few people that are going to be okay, whether they'll be okay with me actually videotaping and walking through and taking some pictures of builds as they're in progress, and some that are completed, and be able to show what the differences in work is. The only problem is, the people with the really poor and shoddy work are not going to let me go in there and take videos and pictures of the place and kind of expose what they have. Well, obviously, you wouldn't. Who in the right mind is going to want somebody to come and, make their place look horrible, which they are horrible, but I can't, so I got to think about how I'm going to approach it. Because I think it comes down to really educating the public and really helping them understand. And it goes down all throughout when you're looking at sheetrock and the nails are popping, and there's tons of stuff to look at. I'm not going to get into all that again like I did last week, but it's a lot of things. And if you're not knowledgeable about these things, I strongly suggest that you use a buyer's agent that is knowledgeable about these kind of builds, because they'll help you at least point out things that you might have not noticed and that kind of thing, and at least be protected. Obviously you're going to get the home inspector, but sometimes with the home inspector, they'll miss things too. They'll absolutely miss things. Now, everybody's seeing me drink again my Starbucks coffee. I think I've had a Starbucks cup with me on every single show that I've done, and every single podcast. Every time I'm doing something, I'm usually holding a cup of Starbucks. So this goes out to Starbucks. You need to start taking a good look at who's endorsing you and maybe becoming a sponsor for the show, because I haven't reached out to you, but I think I need them to be a sponsor, because I don't think there's a bigger advocate than me. And if you go into any of the local Starbucks, they all know me by name, and they all know my drink before I even walk into the door. So it's time to get some endorsement dollars from Starbucks for the show. I haven't pressed anybody for this, but Starbucks, I think, should be my key sponsor. Now, it will make WGBB happy to have Starbucks as a sponsor. You better believe it, right? Jeff, the owner, would probably be doing cartwheels over having Starbucks as a sponsor. Let's see what we can do. So now that I went on my complete rant about this American Real Estate Institute garbage, whatever I was saying, and give a little bit of a warning for these people coming into the place. Let me just kind of give everybody a quick overview of where I see this market going right now. I don't think we've really talked about this in a few weeks actually, and everything is changing almost day to day, and it has definitely been changing week to week and month to month. So where are we? Are we in a seller's market? Are we in a buyer's market? Are we in the middle? Are we, who knows what the hell we are? Not sure yet. But here's the way I'm looking. I'm working from the ground up, and I'm working in a lot of different areas. So my opinion, I think, holds a lot of weight when it comes to this subject, because I'm not looking at only one specific area like Syosset or Merrick that we're in, or Massapequa or Lindenhurst. Doesn't matter. I've worked in a lot of areas, and I'm seeing the general trend. That's a very consistent trend. Okay, so this is where we're at today, and this is where my personal opinion is. Everything has somewhat leveled off. This market is almost at like a plateau kind of situation, or we're at the like top of the peak. Okay, so this time last year we had the issue of the balances where things were shifted towards the seller, still towards the seller, because the inventory was so low, and it was low to almost a ridiculous point at some points last year. And because of that reason of things being low, buyers were aggressively going in and putting offers, and they were more rabid. It was even more 2 years ago. Last year it started leveling off a little bit off of where it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, it was, you put something on the market, even if it was grossly overpriced, you were getting multiple offers on a place. No exaggeration. No exaggeration. You might not have gotten full price offers or like offers that are close to what you're asking for and that kind of thing, but you were getting people really aggressively, and you were getting bidding wars happening, and people were like really like rabid about what they're buying. And like, I gotta buy this, because there was a sense of urgency. If I don't buy something now, who knows if I'm gonna find what I want, and who knows if the prices are gonna go even higher. That was happening a lot. And I don't think people like realize how much that was happening. And for that reason alone, the low inventory levels remained low, and even got lower at some point, because there was more houses coming off the market than coming on the market. Now, at some point last year, we started to see things start to kind of like change a little bit. And the inventory started to shift a little bit, and you start seeing a little bit of an accumulation, a little bit of a buildup. And I'll tell you why that was happening. And it's not rocket science. It's really not. You had the premium properties, and this happens till today. The premium properties that are priced aggressively and priced on target, and are really, they go quickly. They go quickly. And I'm not talking about anomalies. I'm not talking about luxury. I'm not talking about high end. I'm not talking about waterfront. I'm talking about your normal average type of homes. And what was happening was the good stuff was going fast, but all the bad stuff, or those, you know, a lot of people say I'm like really blunt with the way I think, or some of the defective stuff, and some of the places that have issues or some kind of oddity going on with them, or they're just grossly, like, it's one thing to be grossly overpriced, and one thing to be obesely, like morbidly, grossly overpriced. I don't know. I don't even know the word for that, but you know, and they're sitting on the market, and because that was happening, you started to see a shift, because more houses were hitting the market little by little, but less houses were coming off. So the inventory balances started to build up. Then you had a whole bunch of people that were late to the game. They said, hold on a second, this guy just sold his house for $1 million. That one sold for $900,000. I'm gonna get $1 million for my house. I gotta put it on the market. Didn't realize that his house had half the amenities and half the features and half the size that the other house that sold for $1 million did, and decides to put his house on the market for $1 million too, just because. I love this mentality. A lot of people. Well, what makes you think that your house is worth it? Because that's what I want. Okay, just because you want it doesn't mean that's what you're gonna get. The market talks. The market talks. I promise you, the market talks, and the buyers will show their hand. You know, in order for something to sell at a certain price, you got to get a buyer that's willing to buy it at a certain price. And if you and you can't force it. You could work it. You could get a little bit more. You could tweak the numbers. You could get them to you know, get a little bit of premium for certain things. But there's got to be something that pulls them to get that for. So, you know, you have the sellers coming in and saying, "I want $1 million." Why? Because that's what I want. So now they're putting their house on the market. So now more inventory is building up. And then you have the people that are really not ready to sell the house. They have no real intention of selling it up. But if they get their crazy number, they're going to take it and walk away. And it happens all the time. And, you know, that was happening, again, 2 years ago, where people were putting their crazy numbers on and actually getting them. And they, a lot of times, were freaking out and scrambling last second to try to sell their places, to try to find another place to move into, because they didn't expect to sell it. They had no true belief that they were going to actually get what they actually got. And that was where we were in the market. Right now, we're in a shift. And we're right now at a tug of war. Is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller? In some places, it has turned into a buyer's market. In some places, It has turned into a seller. It's still a seller's market, but there's a tug of war, and in a lot of places, it's even keel. You get some houses get on the market, so you get some sold, and it's just almost like a flop. And again, the best of the best always goes fast. The stuff that has some kind of issue or somewhat overpriced or somewhat unique to the market or whatever the case is, ends up sitting. It's just the way it is. That's the way the market is. So you have all that going on. At one point, there was a little bit of a spike in the interest rate, so that had people pull the brakes a little bit too. And that brings us to where we are today. And where are we today? We are in some places a buyer's market. Some places is still a seller's market. And in most places, we're an even keel market. You know, does that mean things aren't selling? No, things are selling, and I'm selling things all the time. The problem with how they're being sold is that they're not going as fast as they were. You had a market where things were going off in a week, 2 weeks. Sometimes we would we would have the place sold before we even had a chance to put a stake on the lawn with a for sale sign. And that's no exaggeration. It happened like that a lot. You know, Astoria at one point was the hottest thing in the world. Never needed to have a sign. Now you drive the drive around, you see signs all over the place. It's just the way it is. You know, it's just the way it is. So where's that put us right now? It's healthy to have an even market where you have the buyers not feeling like they're doing things out of desperation. Now, obviously, the sellers would love to see their places sell faster, and that goes without saying. And I, as a real estate professional, we'd love to sell the houses faster, or the buildings faster, or the properties faster, without a doubt. But again, the market dictates where we're at, and the buyers seem to need more time. They need to be able to walk through the inventory. They need to compare. They need to assess. And if you got the better of the houses, people will make their full circle and come back to you. It's just the way it is. And it's a really good thing to do. It's a really good approach for a buyer, especially somebody that's not very knowledgeable. You know, and they need that extra time to take a look and get all those jitters out of their system and feel like they're making the right decision for themselves, for their family, for the significant other, for whoever they're purchasing the place. You know, you can't artificially rush the process. And, you know, right now, that's where we're at. And there's no other way to put it. Where we're going to be at this point next year, I'm not sure. But I got a feeling that we're going to be seeing a lot more of the same for a while. All right. So, yeah, we're not going to be selling in a week or two or a month. We're going to be taking 2 months, maybe 3 months to sell the places. That's just where the market is. You know, the inventory levels in most places have reached 6 months. And that's always been a milestone point where you're breaking between a buyer's market and seller's market. I don't like to go by those numbers, and I'll tell you why. And much of the reason why is what I just stated a little earlier. You have a lot of properties and homes that are on the market for artificial reasons. They're not on the market because they have a need or a desire to sell. They're testing the market. So that's artificially increasing the inventory levels. And that's something that, you know, the media can't really get into. Your average person that doing statistics can't really get into. It takes somebody that's working the market on a day-to-day basis and actually is doing everything that you need to do in order to get these homes sold, and actually seeing what the average person is telling them and taking in all the feedback and incorporating and using it to continue to sell homes. So as a person that's working actively in these markets, I'm seeing this. I have countless amounts of landlords, homeowners, property owners, you name it, that are saying, hey, Nick, I want to put my house on the market. Okay, let's figure out what the house is worth. I always say, what are you thinking right now? Because I have the comps and I'm looking at the comps. I know what the numbers are. The person was, I want $2 million for my 5-family, 6-family house in whatever town. And I turn around and say, well, the market's saying that we're really should be at 1.6, 1.7. That's really what's being sold. I don't care. If I don't sell it, I don't sell it. That's the mentality. I don't care. If I don't sell it, I'll keep it. I don't have to sell it. That part of the equation is what's being lost through the media, through the statisticians, through the people that are coming up with their theories. Unless you're working the market and you're seeing what the mentality of your individual seller and your individual buyers are doing, you don't understand that and you don't realize that. So there's a lot of stuff that's in play right now that is artificially inflated one way or the other. Now, the media loves to hit us hard with the negative stuff, the negatives over and over again. They love to hit us hard, super hard with the negative stuff. And then obviously you have organizations like Realtor, .com and all this that love to hit you with the positive stuff. Well, you know what? There has to be an even ground. And I don't want to call out the media and the newspapers and the radio station and television stations. Now I'm part of the media, so I have a very odd position. But let's give the full picture to everybody. News stations, TV stations, come on, enough with the negative stuff. Yeah, there is a lot of negative stuff. Focus on it. It's great. It's great news stories. People love to see blood. They're going to talk about it. But talk about some of the good stuff too, because there's a lot of good stuff too. Just try to give an open picture. I've been on countless articles. Every so often I get quoted and an interview to be on an article on either newspaper or some kind of syndication or whatever the case is. And they're never asking me to talk about the good stuff. They're always asking me to talk about the bad stuff out there. And when I'm like, are we ever going to talk about something good? That doesn't sell papers. That doesn't sell this. I'm like, oh, come on. Let's just give an even keel and not just paint everything with one big broad stroke. I'll talk about that at another time a little bit more, and I'll give my outlook of how I feel about that and my feelings towards how we're going right now. But let's talk about some of the good stuff. Everybody loves to hear. I always get the best ratings and the best reactions on either the radio or on the show or on the podcast or on the Facebook Live thing. Whenever I'm going on a complete tangent or a rant and talking about going crazy over something and it irritates me and I lose my mind, people usually love that. But you know what? I kind of wish that when I'm talking about the good stuff, that was embraced as well. It can't be all bad stuff. Let's talk about some of the good stuff. And on that note, I'm going to sign off today. We got Streetwise next, Trevor? All right, so you're going to have a great show of Streetwise following me right now, so stay tuned for that. It's always a great listen. And I'm going to sign off. I'm going to wish everybody have a great night, have a great week, and I'll be with you again at this time next Monday between 6 and 7 on the Real Estate Plate. Have a good one.